Hello and welcome to Cliff Reviews Art House. This time I'm providing an overview of David Lynch films. So David Lynch was one of the great filmmakers, but he wasn't just a filmmaker, he was an inventor of cinematic language. I find his work thrilling, brave, and often unlike anything else in the history of film or television. He took the visual medium and remade it into something intuitive, more emotional, more dreamlike. He gave us some of the most compelling, unsettling and exhilarating moments ever captured on screen. Lynch's films are not easy. They're not passive viewing experiences. They demand patience, attention, and a willingness to surrender to confusion. They rarely give you what you think you want. You can't try to enjoy his films in the usual sense. You have to let them happen to you, like a meditation or a daydream. They unfold in their own time, on their own terms. But if you do engage with them, really engage, the rewards can be ecstatic. Lynch's work isn't about decoding a hidden message. It's about feeling your way through a world where logic bends, time folds in on itself, and identity shatters. It's cinema as vibration. After Lynch's death, I was reading all the tributes and listening to people talking about his amazing work. I got excited. I wanted to feel it all over again. So I did something a little extreme. I rewatched everything, every film, every episode of Twin Peaks over a concentrated 2-week period. It was a demanding experience, but deeply rewarding. This isn't necessarily the optimal way to engage with this work. At times I did feel like I was getting a bit lynched out, but watching everything back to back gave me a new understanding of his work, made the patterns clearer, the shifts in tone more meaningful, the obsessions more vivid. Lynch's world became a kind of total environment. It didn't always make sense, but it made something else, an emotional and spiritual texture that I could inhabit. Lynch is often described as a surrealist. That's partly true, but it's reductive. He's more than that. He's a painter of consciousness. He works through tone, space, sound, light, and repetition. His stories spiral, they don't march. His images recur like memories, not plot points. And across all his work, certain themes return again and again. The fracturing of identity, the collapse of innocence, surface normality hiding inner horror, reality folding into performance, female suffering reframed as metaphysical trauma, the interplay of dread, transcendence and grace. There is a spirituality in Lynch's work, not religious, but metaphysical, intuitive. Angels appear, but they don't always save. Redemption is elusive. Transcendence, when it comes, is hard-won and fleeting. And yet it's there, in a smile, a flicker, a gesture. Beauty and healing emerge only after terror has been endured. Lynch's films exist on a kind of spectrum, both in terms of narrative comprehensibility and emotional tone. On one end you have The Straight Story and The Elephant Man, deeply human, emotionally direct, relatively conventional films, full of compassion, sentiment, even optimism. At the other extreme is Inland Empire, 3 hours of fractured identities, recursive horror and psychic implosion. It's probably his most inaccessible film and for some, his most profound. In between lie films like Blue Velvet, Lost Highway and Mulholland Drive, strange, seductive and dark. These works begin with something recognisable and then gradually fall apart. They flirt with noir, with melodrama, with horror. But what they become is something harder to name. They're dreams you only realise you were having once they end. Lynch's narratives range from almost classical to almost incomprehensible, and emotionally they range from light to dark. But all of them share his fingerprints, the disjointed time, the hum of dread, the uncanny repetition, the redemptive flicker. There are certain moments in Lynch's work that have really stayed with me, left an indelible mark. Short scenes that encapsulate everything he does best. You don't necessarily know why, but somehow they're instantly so compelling. They draw you in, and although you don't know what's going on, something is going on. The tension, the atmosphere, the emotional charge, it's unmistakable. Examples of these scenes are in Inland Empire, the opening scene with the Polish woman, quietly chilling, filmed in tightly handheld close-ups, full of cryptic dread. Or the moment when Nikki, mid-script reading, suddenly realises this is like the scene from the movie, when it is the scene. Reality collapses, it's terrifying. In Mulholland Drive, the diner scene at Winky's, two men recounting a dream, a slow, dreadful unfolding, and then the dream becomes real. One of the most perfectly executed scenes of pure unease ever put on film. In Lost Highway, the moment at the party. We've met before, haven't we? The mystery man stands there calmly speaking while also speaking on the phone from the protagonist's house. Time, space and sanity rupture. Pure Lynch. These moments are why Lynch matters, not for explanations, but for this sensation of standing at the edge of something vast, terrifying, even possibly sacred. Loving Lynch doesn't mean overlooking the problems in his work. One potential problem is the male gaze he employs. Lynch has been criticised for his portrayal of women, particularly the suffering they endure and the way it's often eroticised. There is some truth to this, I think. His films are steeped in the male gaze and nudity is common, and yet his female characters are rarely one-dimensional. Many are emotionally central, even spiritually central, especially in later works like Inland Empire. Still, this isn't a simple issue. Lynch does walk a fine line between empathy and aestheticised trauma. A second problem that people have with his work is to accuse him of self-indulgent, inaccessibility, even pretension. Lynch's work can feel alienating. He gives you very little. He frustrates traditional expectations. For some, that is exhilarating. For others, it's maddening. At times, I've had both reactions to his work, and I think both reactions are valid. But for those of us who do connect with it, Lynch's work offers something rare in cinema, a space where not knowing is the point, where ambiguity is sacred, and where meaning isn't handed to you, it's uncovered like a secret by intuition. You don't watch Lynch to understand, you watch to recognise. You recognise dread, love, confusion, mystery. You recognise yourself, scattered across a dream you didn't even know you were having. Lynch doesn't explain, he trusts you to feel your way through. And if you do, if you truly surrender, you may just come away changed. Rest in peace, David Lynch. You gave us so much. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.